Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking about yerba mate extract, Unimate, but I'm going to show Dr. Andrew Huberman how he drinks this every day and how he talks about the science behind how yerba mate extract or yerba mate itself can actually produce GLP-1, which is the glucagon-like peptide 1, the peptide hormone that there's like crazy amounts of research out there that this helps you to burn fat and the health benefits. So I'm going to just share my screen and show you a recording from him, and let's talk about it and break it down. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
And mental health that I think are really
So I'm just reversing it here.
highlight some recent findings in an area totally separate from mental health that I think are really important for everyone to know about. This is a paper published in the journal Cell, which is a Cell Press journal, an excellent journal, in fact, one of the 3 apex journals. So for those of you that are curious, papers published in the journal Nature, Science, and Cell are considered the sort of Super Bowl, Stanley Cup, and NBA championships of publishing. And this paper, entitled An Interneural Circuit for Appetite Suppression, illustrates a very important principle that I think everyone should know about. And that's the principle of so-called parallel pathways. Parallel pathways, as the name suggests, are pathways that could be neural pathways or hormonal pathways or otherwise that operate independently of one another to accomplish a common goal. And what this paper really shows is that there's a set of peptides in the body, and the peptide that I'm referring to today is called GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1, and some related peptides. I've talked about these on the podcast before for 2 reasons. First of all, I'm a big proponent and consumer of yerba mate. Yerba mate is a tea that can promote the release of glucagon-like peptide 1. And there are also new prescription drugs that are now hitting the market, and for which there are really impressive clinical trials for diabetes and obesity that are essentially glucagon-like peptide 1 stimulators. So they stimulate the release of that, or they are in fact a synthetic version of glucagon-like peptide 1. What is
So now I just want to explain, there's a lot of these medications on the market, and I've worked with over 1,000 people utilizing this system to help people to get their diabetes in remission and to get a lot of benefits of health. So I just want to interject here. When he talks about the GLP-1 agonists, the ones that are imposter, the ones that are synthetic versions, that's what we're seeing a majority of. Now, the ones that are stimulating it are very rarely, prescribed. And a lot of the people that I work with, they come in and they let me know that, hey, you know what, I'm getting all these side effects. So if you look into pdr.net, and I'll show you some articles later, you can look it up and you can see that there's a lot of research done on these, and there's a lot of actually very scary side effects that people get from this. So let me just continue on. You guys can listen.
glucagon-like peptide 1? It is a peptide, which is a small little protein that can dramatically suppress appetite. So that's why these drugs are being explored and are showing quite impressive results for things like treatment of type 2 diabetes and other forms of diabetes, as well as obesity. So they lead to weight loss. Now, in terms of the yerba mate stimulation of glucagon-like peptide 1, that's going to be a much lower amount of glucagon-like peptide 1 that's released from drinking yerba mate, as opposed to, say, taking a drug that stimulates GLP-1 or taking a drug that is GLP-1. Nonetheless, I should also point out that yerba mate comes in a bunch of different forms. There is some concern about certain smoky flavored forms of yerba mate being carcinogenic. So that's why I avoid those.
And so regarding that, that's why I prefer to use Unimate by Unicity. And you can see I do have links to this and I get discounts, and I get this directly from the family that makes this amazing product. And what this does, guys, is that this will actually help to stimulate, but also when we talk about stimulate the GLP-1, but not only that, what it does is that all the carcinogenic side or any smoky type of, we're not getting that. We're getting a hyper pure process, which is a 5-step process where they purify, they extract it, and they get only directly from farms in South America that grows in a certain elevation and that is grown in the shade. So there's a lot of factors in there hand-picking this and then bringing it to us and removing all the pesticides and carcinogens. So you're getting a purified form. Now you don't have to drink 375 cups of classic yerba mate to get what you get in this, okay? So let's go back to what Dr. Andrew Huberman is saying.
those forms of yerba mate. But for me, yerba mate is one of the preferred sources of caffeine. For me, I like the way it tastes. It does provide that sort of caffeine kick that I like to have early in the day for focus and for work and for exercise.
So what it doesn't have classic caffeine, it's got matine in it. And matine is different. Theobromine, it basically elevates your mood and helps you to feel really good. It's like the same thing when you eat chocolate, it helps with your blood flow, it makes you feel good. It's a mood lifter. But you don't have this up and down like coffee. Okay, hope that makes sense.
And yet I actively avoid the smoked varieties of yerba mate because of the potential carcinogenic effects of the smoked varieties. Glucagon-like peptide 1, as I had mentioned earlier, can suppress appetite, but what this paper shows is it does that by at least two mechanisms through parallel pathways. What this paper shows is that glucagon-like peptide 1 acts on receptors in the body in a portion of the nervous system called the enteric nervous system, E-N-T-E-R-I-C, enteric nervous system. This is a component of your nervous system that you don't really have control over. It's autonomic or automatic. GLP-1 binds to what are called intestinofugal enteric neurons. You don't need to know the name, but those neurons do two things. First of all, they cause some gut distension. So they actually make you feel full. This is incredible, right? A peptide, not actual physical food, but a peptide that stimulates neurons that cause changes in the so-called mechanoreceptors of the gut, of the enteric nervous system, and make people feel full. So it can lead to actually mild, or I suppose if levels of GLP-1 are very high, to major gut distension. Okay, I think that the levels of GLP-1 that would come from drinking yerba mate and hopefully from appropriate dosaging of the synthetic forms of GLP-1 or drugs that stimulate GLP-1 would cause mild, not major gut distension, because major gut distension would be uncomfortable.
And see, that's important to know, guys. And having a mild, continuous effect from yerba mate, the yerba mate extract, is beneficial. And that's why we've got over 50 published studies done on this, because this actually does help you to feel full longer. It reduces all your cravings, right? And because it's mild, it's not giving you those harmful side effects, which I'll show you later on PDR.net.
So GLP-1 is acting at the level of gut to increase gut distension, and by way of a pathway that goes from the gut up to the hypothalamus, this little cluster of neurons about the size of a marble that sits above the roof of your mouth, is also suppressing appetite through brain mechanisms. So this is really beautiful, right? You have a peptide, a small little protein that's released in the gut, and that release within the gut causes gut distension, which makes you feel full, and by way of neural stimulation of the hypothalamus, also activates neural pathways within the brain that trigger satiety, the feeling of having had enough food. So to me, GLP-1 is both impressive and important. Why? Because this recent category of drugs that's now hitting the market seems to adjust obesity or can help people with weight loss in order to help their health. And it's doing so by at least two mechanisms. One is within the brain, and the other is within the gut and communication through the so-called gut-brain axis. Because again, these enteric neurons are communicating to the brain, the hypothalamus, by way of this, what's called the sympathogastrospinal reticular hypothalamic pathway. You absolutely do not need.
So that sounds crazy, right? We've got the scientific terms, but in layman's terms, it's basically your gut is like your second brain. So whatever, all the signals we get from our gut, whether it's serotonin, melatonin, cortisol, everything that we get, leptin, the ghrelin hormone, it's all coming from there. So this is giving us the right signals, shutting off us having to eat food, feeling full, and reducing our cravings. Therefore, because we're sipping on the yerba mate, we're getting all the vitamins, minerals, and amino acids. Then what happens, right? Our body says, hey, Paul or Andrew's not going to eat me food. What do? It starts accessing the fat, and it doesn't break your fast because this is less than 10 calories. Anything over 15 will break your fast. And then you lose the fasting benefits as well. So imagine fasting while getting the amino acids for your muscles and the vitamins and minerals.
Need to know all of that. That's a mouthful. That's enough to make your mouth feel distended. But at the same time, things like yerba mate, and I'm sure there are other compounds out there as well, but certainly yerba mate can stimulate the release of GLP-1. So for those of you that are looking for some mild appetite suppression and want to accomplish that while also ingesting caffeine, yerba mate might be a good option for that. And just know that it's operating through two mechanisms: on the body through mild gut distension to make you feel full, and on the brain to increase satiety or make you feel less hungry. And then for everybody, not just those that are interested in appetite suppression, I think it's important to understand that these parallel pathways are fundamental to how we are organized. Another good example of this would be when we are excited by something, positive or negative, so it can be stressful or we're positively aroused, there is a parallel activation of epinephrine, adrenaline, both from your adrenals and from an area in the brain called the locus coeruleus. So again and again, we see this in biology and in neuroscience, that your brain and your body are acting in concert. They're acting together through mechanisms that either are independent, so separately in the brain and separately in the body, but directed towards a common goal, or through communication between brain and body. And almost always, that communication is going to be bidirectional, body to brain and brain to body. So I think these results are really interesting and really important for sake of weight loss, for sake of appetite suppression, and just generally for the way that they illustrate this very important theme of the way that we are constructed at a biological level, which is parallel pathways.
There you go, guys. So that's amazing, right? So like you think of what this man has done for, explaining the benefits of yerba mate from a scientific point of view, it's phenomenal. I mean, the plant is phenomenal. It helps you, and you can look it up on pdr.net. I'm gonna actually just share my screen right now and show you this website that's open access. Anyone can go to it. It used to be called the prescriber's digital reference. Sorry, it used to be called the physician's desk reference. Now it's called the prescriber's digital reference. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen and just show that to you right now. This is pdr.net, and I'm just going to open it up here for you. Okay. If you just bear with me. So pdr.net. Okay. And oops, I even spelled that wrong. So here it is. This is pdr.net, and you can look up any medication here. And if I look up, for example, I'll look up one of those weight loss drugs. I'll look up a semaglutide. So they're called semaglutides. They come in many different names. I'll look up one of the most famous ones. Okay. And here we go. And as I look up this one here, I search for it, and it's going to show up as right here. Okay. That's what it's called, Ozempic. And you go here, it's semaglutide. When I click on it, it gives me the drug summary. And when I go through this, guys, and you guys can go through this yourself, this is giving you a synthetic version. And you can see here that it's got adverse reactions, right? You can go to every part, have a look at it, look at the administration. You're going to be injecting yourself weekly. And, for some people, yes, but when they're just giving this out to people just for the purpose of weight loss and prescribing it over and over, it needs to be reserved for people that really, really need it, right? But when it's given out just for weight loss, there's other ways, obviously, right? And, that's why we utilize our system addressing your gut health and addressing, your time while you're fasting to get the nutrition and increase the GLP-1. So you've got severe. I'm not going to read them all, but you've got quite a few severe ones, from your eyes to your liver to everything. You've got moderate, even the moderate ones are pretty scary. And then you've got mild. The mild ones actually are quite scary. You've got anxiety, alopecia, you've got flatulence, you've got dizziness, you've got headache, abdominal pain, diarrhea. So, I'm not going to go on and on, but you guys can go through this and have a look for yourself. And you can look at the difference between utilizing this. And right here, the box warning right away talks about thyroid cancer, thyroid C cells, tumors, and these are risks. If you want to take it, it's up to you. But if you go to Unicity, our company is the only health company in the world, okay? Only health company in the world with health products on the pdr.net, okay? So right here, I'm looking at Unicity Unimate, and look at this, prescribing information. There's not a lot of issues here. It's all under one title. There's no severe, moderate, mild side effects, right? There's only simply yerba mate comes from a plant native to South America. Sorry, almost said South Africa, where it's been consumed in the community for rituals for hundreds of years. Okay. Now there is a steeping process, and it doesn't taste as good as our Unimate, obviously. Ours tastes like iced tea, but naturally rich in antioxidants, and nutrients. Yerba mate has been traditionally used to promote mental clarity, endurance, appetite control, and improved mood. Okay. Unamate contains a proprietary yerba mate extract. Okay. That enhances, and now this is this one that we're talking about, Unamate, an extract that enhances those beneficial effects. This drink contains naturally occurring caffeine and up to 10 times more the chlorogenic acid found in a premium cup of coffee. Unamate's yerba mate undergoes a unique 5-step process of hand-picking, fire roasting, extracting, concentrating, and purifying. The result is a powerful beverage that boosts the mood and heightens mental stamina, focus, motivation, and endurance. That's why a lot of athletes are using it now. And I use it. My 84-year-old dad uses it. My mom. So I'm actually a big, big advocate of this. Okay. Now, there's clinical studies, guys, that back this up. Clinical studies. Okay, look, first of all, Unamate is a rich source of vitamins, minerals, and secondary metabolites such as chlorogenic acids and triterpenoid saponins. Okay, those are good for you. Chlorogenic acids and the saponins found in Unamate documented scientific literature to support better gene expression in the body. Okay, clinical studies, read this part. Clinical studies show that Unamate has the ability to promote a healthy mood. Number one, okay, psychological well-being in a group of subjects assessed by the Oxford Happiness Questionnaire was increased by 20%. The mode of action is most likely due to the chlorogenic acids in it. And in addition, there's clinical studies as well, is that there's a 12% reduction in cholesterol, a 5% reduction in LDL, 11% reduction in triglycerides. That's the fat inside your blood, guys, that makes your arteries clogged, right? Additionally, there's a 5% reduction, okay? 5% reduction in fasting blood glucose and 3% reduction in A1Cs was observed. Now, that's a short period of time. It's not a long term. When I have people using this 90 days, 60 days, 120 days, I see huge benefits. So, yeah, so I just wanted to share this all with you guys. There's obviously another part of the equation, which is the Unamate, and then we address the the gut health. And these two in unison is what we're using. I've had over 1,300 people use this product from me, use this system, and I've never seen any results like this ever in my life. I am totally, totally amazed by it. You've got 90 days money back. The ingredients are sourced directly from farmers. There's no side effects other than a little bit of maybe some upset stomach, but that goes away after about 2 to 3 weeks. And I've only seen that in about 20 to 30% of people. So guys, if you guys want information, reach out. I'm here to help. Until then, stay healthy.